Hello and welcome to this edition of the Time with Hime podcast. I'm joined by our superintendent, Mr. Hime. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, it's so great. It's 2021. We got 2020 in our back. Just think about it. Bello has a battery and he's got memory cards. We're ready to go. Let's get
We
it.
can start our podcast today. So let's start out with our COVID summary and what's going on. Plus, we have new quarantine information to share.
Yeah, I mean, please tune in and look at the LPS, lawtonps.org, or the website, and look under the community section and COVID summary, and you can keep up with by sight. You know, kind of it's interesting when you look at the document, because one of the amazing things is over the break, with that first week we got back, which we're still into, we had more adults get positive than students. So that's a little bit more probably about how many adults test versus how many students test, and there's a lot of factors involved. But again, our numbers site by site have stayed pretty clean. You know, obviously, coming back from the break that first week, we probably had more serious cases, more ill, very ill cases. We had some tragedies, that we're still, praying for those families. But we continue with to have that data out there for our parents and our teachers and keeping it accurate. The governor came out with a new quarantine policy. If you're wearing a mask 100% of the time, he's allowing that at school you do not have to be quarantined. We're still working with the health department and kind of wading through that, and we're going to look at that in a case-by-case scenario and continue with their contact tracers, our nurses, and working together to make those decisions. But the good things about the decisions are it is going to give us a little bit more leeway on, myself. I got quarantined. I was within 15 or 20 minutes of people talking at 3 feet, but we both had a mask on. So probably according to the new, I would have been excused, whereas under the old I was. So there's going to be some borderline cases where you don't get quarantined.
And I think that's, like you said, case by case. So when people receive a phone call, our nurses are really good about sharing information of what that looks like. And they are in communication with the health department who give us the quarantine list, and then they make that decision together. So
yeah, obviously there's a lot of schools in Southwest Oklahoma, a lot of students, and not that many health department workers. So we've always relied upon them for the final decision. We do a lot of the communicating. We communicate with them the information they need in order to make the decision that we get from teachers and principals and different staff members at schools. They make the decision, and then they'll communicate back with the parents. So, as a parent, if your child gets quarantined, don't just throw that right out there that the school made that decision. We still depend upon the health department to make those decisions. We still depend on the experts, and they're not going to change a lot with what the governor his change. But as time goes on, I think there'll be more balance to it. As with anything, we're going to identify and look when things change. Never going to be quick to say we're not going to do this, or be quick to say we're going to do it. And in this case, we've always relied upon the health department. So we're going to communicate with them and rely upon how they interpret what the governor put out there. And that's what we'll do moving forward.
And we will go ahead and make sure that we communicate any changes that we do within the district. That's our priority. We'll send it out via notification if there's any changes. But right now, we're business as usual with what we've done.
Yes, and the big thing about the changes are they're individually based. So and they come from the health department. So obviously, as a parent or as a staff member or anyone in the school, if you're wanting to know, is the school going to change? We're going to not change the fact that we always rely upon the health department. The data we give the health department gives us the answers. So we're going to continue to work with the health department, and that's probably the most important thing for everyone to know.
And some of our children and students have been going to virtual because of quarantine. So let's go into our next topic of what virtual looks like for our district as we continue on and even look into next year.
We talk about that, and it's a question you get asked. Once you cross that road and we have virtual, there's a big consideration out there that we still have over 4,000 students who are full-time virtual in our district. And, when I talk to our leaders and different principals who oversee those, they still feel like there will be 2,000 of those or more who will continue virtual even if everyone has a vaccine and the COVID goes away and it's not here. So we're going to have to really work on developing that plan to continue to meet the needs of those parents. In the same sense, when I talk to the principals and leaders, we do have some teachers who really enjoy the virtual and feel they're flourishing and feel that's their calling. So hopefully we can continue to mix and match and have teachers who really enjoy the virtual and who are doing a great job of it with the students and families who that really meets their needs, and continue to make that work, because flexibility shouldn't just be in a pandemic. Again, as a school, we got to work with our parents, but we also got to meet the needs of our teachers. And, and I guess when you look at my job, that's probably the hardest thing about it, trying to make all that balance and do what's best for everybody, but also ensure that we're offering quality education in various platforms.
And I love that our district has that opportunity to give that flexibility and those options to our families, because it's unique in every district. But for us, it's been phenomenal and an asset to have.
Oh, we've got people calling and looking at what we're doing all over, and very excited, and they get excited. I had somebody from Senator Langford's office in my office the other day, and he wants more information so he can share it with Senator Langford. And, we've had the local state representatives, the education senate chair. A lot of people have come in, and, and it's a shout out once again to the staff. I can say I came up with the idea, but the idea was a brainstorm, but it was really a shout out to the staff. We all work together, we work together for an idea, but again, the hard work comes from those people in the buildings that are doing the flexibility, the teachers that are working at home, and our virtual teachers working at our virtual sites.
We do have an amazing staff, and I know there have been some questions regarding budgets because they're hearing about the CARES Act and what it looks like. So what would you share with our staff members and our families regarding that?
Well, we got our midterm adjustment over the break, and that's always a huge topic of conversation is, how did that fare with Lawton Public Schools? The easiest way to say is we got cut per weighted student. Our weighted number of students is 22,652 point what, that's getting too deep in the numbers for you. But we got cut $86.30, I believe, maybe $84.60, somewhere in there. So you can multiply that, and it's about $1.9 million. Couple that with the beginning of the year. And our budget cut for the year has been about $4.5 million. Now, understand that's in our state aid, and it continues to roll through the years to come. In one-time money, we were expected to get around $14 million in this new CARES Act. Could be more, could be less. So we're going to be okay for the near future. We'll just have to work, as we get to 22, 23, 24, and that's my job to take care of. And that's one thing I try to really reinforce, as a superintendent. Teachers are hired to teach. Teachers are hired to educate students. They're not hired to worry about budgets. And, most people who have ever worked in a district I've been in charge of, they'll tell you that, I'll take care of paper and electric, and we're not going to get into that. We want teachers to teach, and I want them to not be threatened by budget cuts. So, we're going to make this work. It's not something that's out of reach. Obviously, you'll hear people talk because, as we continue to lose students, we got to restructure what we do. But what we won't do is take people's jobs. We're not going to go to people and say, well, we don't need you next year. Well, we don't need you next year. Our good employees have jobs for the future. We're not looking at any of that. Obviously, we may have some attrition or moving people around that, as people leave jobs or retire, we may restructure how we do things. So, we'll continue that as a district working on that, but nothing for anybody to fear, nothing for anybody to concern themselves about. We will, that comes from our office. It's the one thing I'd really like to take that burden away from teachers and staff as to worrying about the budget and will I have a job next year? It's one thing people will tell you, one of the things we changed immediately is we don't consider people paid with title money. Everybody's paid with school money. And I don't want somebody to think, well, if we lost Title I, I wouldn't have a job because I'm a Title I teacher. No, you're a Lawton teacher, or you're a Lawton, special education teacher, not a, so that's that confidence we want to give, because it's hard enough job to be a teacher in a non-pandemic, but in a pandemic area, teaching is exponentially a tougher job now. So anything I can take off the plate, any of those concerns, we'll do that for you. You're going to have a job next year, and we'll continue to work hard to make sure we can supply you, upgrade your classroom and such. Some of the things we can roll into it, but we've added. I know we've bought 1,000 whiteboards since I've been here that we're starting to put in rooms. Most all of our teachers now have an iPad. A lot of our teachers has been an iPad for their classroom use, their use at home, and just that device to use.
And the audio, let's talk about that audio
Oh yeah,
enhancement.
auto enhancement. We're going to try to get that for every classroom before the end of the year. But it's just a microphone. It's got 4 speakers in the room, and it allows a teacher to just talk in their teacher voice and talk to everybody in the room. The research on that is off the charts, and because I used to be the one. Anybody that's around me is going to say he really didn't need a microphone. But when you're talking in a room, guys like me that are loud, the people at the front of the room thought I was yelling at them. The people at the back of the room could barely hear me. The people in the middle might have been okay. Well, if I talked to the people at the front of the room, the people in the back, well, some students always sit by the air conditioner vent or sit by the door or sit by the window, and your engagement is tough. These microphone systems, they improve the ability of the teacher to engage their students and therefore improve learning. So we're excited to get those, and we're using our CARES money and some of our title money to get some of those things done. Some of the bond money that was passed through the years to get us one-to-one and things. Our community did a great thing back in 2017, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
But this community passed a $100 million bond issue. Half of it went to build the middle school at Eisenhower in the safe rooms, but there's still $40 million for buses and some of those things. So we're looking at improving our activity buses. So whenever our students are at activities, whether, it's always easy to say football and basketball and even baseball, but we're talking about band and chorus and swimming and cheerleading and drama and everybody that goes on a trip. We want them to be on nice things. So we're going to continue to try to upgrade those. We've been really working hard in working with our community and working with people in our community to try to improve the visual of our sites, and we'll continue with that.
And we share them on our social media, so when you see these new items coming out there, it's thanks to you and your support and the work of our teams up here. So it's really encouraging to see that as I go out there. I know, shout out to our Central Middle School teams and staff. When I was over there visiting, they were sharing their hopes and dreams and creating podcasts like we're doing here and even at our high school. So there, it's trickling down what we're doing and giving our kids that real world experience, which we love to see and are so excited. They're out there recording sports and creating their own podcasts, so their community of students and families can see what's going on in their classroom.
Yeah, that's awesome. We got a foundation grant here a while back.
Yes.
Just last week, I believe, that they donated, the foundation donated $50,000 for makerspaces. And so you'll learn, we'll start doing more. Those of you who don't know what a makerspace is, but it's basically the old lab, but it's got a lot of hands-on engineering, and it's different for different levels. And the goal is we're going to try to take that $50,000 and maybe match it with some district money and put a makerspace in every elementary school. And that would be a site where students go in and do a lot of hands-on engineering things with electrodes and robots and different things. And so, thank you to the foundation there. You're talking about all that other stuff. When you take a new job, and it was a year ago that I just started coming, in contact with people and getting out and getting to Lawton. But it's always great when, the community's passed the bond issue. So they've done the work. I get to spend the money, and then I find out how great the people was. This has really been a great opportunity for me, and I really feel lucky because the strength of the leadership, the strength of the teachers and staff, and how much everybody pulls the rope, the community and how hard they pull it, and then they're setting all the bond issue money to spend to upgrade fences and in schools and do some things. So it's really been an amazing, and hopefully we can continue it and get the best and stretch those dollars as far as we can and make things great for the people at Lawton Public Schools.
That's right, and I received some communication, I know, as we've had through the break, so I want to share some of those and have you answer them for our viewers out there.
Okay.
And one of them is about now that we've gotten our first semester, in the belt, under our belts and in the wraps, they ask about what does attendance and truancy look like, and some of our families have reached out, and we want to share that information.
Well, yeah, and it's a struggle because we looked at that with the virtual and even moving forward, that if a student's sick and they're at home and they can log on and do their work, they're not counted absent. Obviously, if you call in sick and you say, I'm going to take a virtual day, and they don't log on and do their work, they won't, they're going to be counted absent. We get a little debate about misusing that. I think a little bit of it gets to be communication, because I know when I was in middle school and in high school, I know I wouldn't have done this. My friends would have done it. This is, I would have tried to convince.
We need that cue now.
I would have tried to convince my parents that my teachers want me to take a virtual day every now and then. They think it's a good experience, and I think today would be a good day for. I'm telling you, look on the webpage. we're not absent. We can do our work from home. And in some cases we do that. So we're going to encourage our teachers when that happens to make sure the parents know that we all still think face-to-face is the best learning environment. We want to make the virtual the best it can, but we also want to make face-to-face the best it can be. Or, you don't have to be bad to get better. We want to always improve our virtual, so we're offering the best virtual learning platform out there, but we also want to continue to improve our face-to-face. And there's almost all research says face-to-face learning. So if you can be at school, get your child to school. We want them there face-to-face. The virtual is one of those things that, yes, it's been great for some 95% of our students and their families. Sure, we've had a few that's taken advantage of it, but as the school goes, we've always had students that miss more days than they should, and students who didn't do their homework, or the different situations that we got to continue to work through with communication. So that's something we'll still look at to change. I know we get some information about teachers and the flexibility and different questions, and even in coming back from the break, we get questions. And you and I worked hard because we talk about it. We didn't get to do a podcast the last week before Christmas break.
Correct.
And because I was quarantined, I'm sure a lot of you know what I went through. But so we did a question and answer and state of the school or whatever, and we sent it out. And I think it answered a lot of questions, but you and I were talking, and it came out right there at Christmas break. And when I was going home for Christmas, I'm not sure I really wanted to read or look at this big, long 3-page or whatever it ended up being document. So Lynn's going to send it back out.
That's right.
and give you another chance to look at it, because some of the questions I'm getting answered, they're answered in that document. And again, that doesn't mean don't ask questions, because no questions, if I get asked twice, so be it. But I would like to continue to answer the questions on some of the virtual things and how we're going to do things moving forward. And a lot of those answers are in that document.
Thank you, and we will get that out to you in the notification for our staff members. Now, let's talk about celebrations. What do you want to, I know there were some basketball games, we've got soccer practices going out, and band is out there, so tell me what you want to celebrate and what you've been seeing.
Moving forward and just being to the norm and closer to the norm. I know Eisenhower and Lawton High played Tuesday night at the Coliseum, which was a great game and a great environment. I know that Eisenhower boys, I think last I looked, they're still ranked number 1, which is really awesome for Lawton. But we got a lot of competitions going on across the district. So tune into that. From my standpoint, I still don't get out maybe as much because, I think I'm old, and I'd really like to keep from not being quarantined and get the virus. But I do watch on TV, so a shout out to OSN. They do a good job. I watched all of our basketball teams play, and sometimes I'll have 2 or 3 screens going at the same time when we have 2 or 3 games going on. So, I really do. I mean, I was a coach. A lot of you know that, but I was a coach for years, and I really get into athletics, and it's really, fun. And I look forward to that day where I can go and somebody can tell me, don't, like I said, I always tell everybody, something to remind me, you're the superintendent. You need to sit down. You're not supposed to yell at those referees. But, I'll be yelling encouragement at our players instead. But so if you can't get to the game and we have a limited crowd, you can tune in and watch it. So shout out to OSN for supporting our students and those sponsors who sponsored on OSN for supporting our student athletes. Hey, great weekend coming up. Forget, no school on Friday. Hopefully, probably you'll get this out while you guys are home for the professional day for our teachers. But Monday is MLK Day, which is Martin Luther King Day. We celebrate all the great things Martin Luther King Jr. did for us, and those of us in education and who have gone through this. When I was in school, Martin Luther King Day wasn't a holiday. Then when I first started teaching, it was a holiday, and we thought, we'll do a PD day on it. And then we started realizing, hey, this is a federal holiday. And then how important he is, and it's a day of service. And if you study Martin Luther King, he's one of the most influential people of all in that founding fathers. And, I was a U.S. history teacher, so, when people think about the George Washingtons and the Abraham Lincolns and the different people that were great, the Benjamin Franklins in our history, Martin Luther King's right there at the top of the list. And then you think about it and how he affects us today, because this was 1960s whenever he was talking about equality and equity, and guess what? We're still talking about it, and we're still talking about how his message still resonates with us today. So please take that day and think about what he did. And I always used to tell my students, we're not in school today, take the time to read one of his speeches and think about what it means to you. Think about what he told you, because the thing I've always enjoyed as a history teacher and through the years is when you read his speeches or hear his speeches on he's talking to you. It's always, I mean, he's that, you think
powerful.
he's talking to you. He's not talking to the masses. He's talking to you. And every now and then he'll step on your toes. So, and that's a good thing for all of us because we can all do better in how we approach, these issues and how they're ongoing. And, I look at my grandkids and I hope when my grandkids are my age, these issues are on the way back burner. And we of a country has fought through those things. So, take that day and celebrate Martin Luther King. And I know there's a video out that the school
and that's what I was going to remind them, that it'll be available on our YouTube channel and to watch it. They did a wonderful job putting on this virtual program because we can't be in person and have a large gathering in that manner. So please check out our YouTube channel. It'll be on our website as well. And we'd love for everybody to watch it. They did phenomenal.
So, moving forward, it's be a short week next week, but we're excited.
It's almost February. It's happening.
It is. And the vaccine's out there.
Yes.
And hopefully we keep talking about it. We get more and more. I know our local area has been cut back on the number of vaccines they have, so we haven't got to the teachers quite as quick as I would like to. But I will tell y'all, I stay in contact with our health department regularly, and she will let you know that I'm really pushing for our local teachers and staff members to start getting the vaccine, those that want it.
And we are in that phase too. So
Yes,
as soon
phase-
as they start getting the vaccines, and we're hopeful that our nurses can assist with that process and
Yes,
get it
and
taken care of.
if you're a teacher over 65, or they're going to, how they're going to do the comorbidity and how they're going to do that, make sure you're filling that out, because if you're on the list of an appointment that doesn't include being a teacher, and they offer it for sake, we come to Lawton High with a few nurses and start giving it, or one of the other schools, and you have an opportunity there, you can take it and cancel that appointment.
Yes.
So use the best opportunity you have. So definitely go to that. And I think it's vaccinateoklahoma.com or something. I know you put it on the website.
It is on our website. I don't want to
And
give the wrong
I don't
one,
either.
so I'll put it in this description for our video.
Put it in there and you send it out. And you see, she thinks I gave the wrong one, so she kind of helped me out there and said, she didn't say I don't want you.
Vaccination.ok.gov,
Something
but
like
let's
that.
make sure we give the
But make
the
sure
right
you
one.
do, because get on there and fill it out. And they've been really working on that website. I know for a fact, another shout out to our health department that I've talked to people statewide. Our health department has done bar none better than anyone in how they've vaccinated and dealt with getting them out. And we've had lots of volunteers, our local volunteers. We have students that are willing to volunteer. And there's no doubt, I've heard that the numbers are going to double in the next few weeks, plus they're going to start on the 2nd. So these high number days are going to come again, where we're going to need everybody back out there at the Coliseum
help and
to line up.
volunteer.
So we'll have our volunteers again, because we're all in this together again at Lawton Schools, Lawton City of Lawton, and the surrounding schools in the county, and all of us are in this together to try to get this thing eradicated so we can go back to living a normal life.
Soon, hopefully soon.
Yes.
Anything else you want to talk about, Mr. Hime?
No. Hey,
I've kept
shout
you long
out to,
enough.
Let's shout out to Bello. He's done such a great job for us. Yay, Bello.
He's got a special little message. This is what he says when you give great jokes. So here you go. So thank you for his work. We are thankful for your time. As always, for you guys, we hope you stay well, be kind, make positive impacts out there. And until our next podcast, have a great weekend.
Thank you.